Here are the moments I think you should know about from episode 57 of Beyond the Gates. Today's episode was all about heartache, whether it was romantic or familial. I'll start out with Chelsea. So she's at Uptown with the woman and the relationship she was a throuple with, and they just wanted to have fun, something extra. But Chelsea started developing feelings for the woman. The woman lets her down and says, this was just supposed to be fun. There was a line where she's like, well, you're a supermodel and I never thought you'd be into me. And Chelsea's like, oh, I'm not a supermodel. I quit. And that just kind of highlights how this woman doesn't really care about Chelsea in that way. And Chelsea's new to all this. She admits this is the first woman she's ever liked. She came out as bi and queer to her mom, Dani, at the country club. More on that later. But yeah, she was just let down by the whole situation. But it happens, and you have to set those expectations whenever you are the third for a couple. Because that couple, if they're a good couple, and they're open and they're willing to allow you in, they have set boundaries. They know that all they want from a person is perhaps sex and companionship. And it's a good lesson for anyone who gets into or gets involved with a couple that it's them. It's them two together, whether it's a man or a woman, a man or a man, or a woman and a woman, or whatever gender you are. And if you're the third, then there's a possibility they could just say, no, this is just for fun. We don't want anything serious with you. And that's what happened. So after this happens to Chelsea, she goes off to the country club and she walks in right behind her father and Haley and sees Dani making out. Well, I don't think they were making out. They were just kissing Pamela, because Pamela was bummed that Diego kissed her in the last episode, earlier that day for them, only because he was trying to make Vanessa jealous. And Dani was trying to remind her that she's this beautiful woman who deserves to be loved and all that good stuff. And then Chelsea runs over to her and says, Mom, you just can't kiss a woman to put on a show for Dad. You're trying to fight him by doing this. Now, Dani says, or later in the episode, I think, that she didn't realize that her ex-husband had just walked in, whatever. Bill actually comes over to them and says something as well before Chelsea storms over. But then Chelsea walks off and says she needs a little bit of time. Dani goes over there, and Dani was very affirming, loving whenever Chelsea came out to her as bi and queer. And I kind of think this is a little redemption for the actress who plays Dani, Carla, because years ago she became the she's a cisgender woman, but she played the first transgender character on daytime television, Maya Avant on Bold and the Beautiful, B&B. You know what I'm talking about. And she recently, about 2 or 3 months ago, said it was wildly inappropriate for her to play that now. And looking back, she would never do it. But it's a different time. It was like 10, 12 years ago. We don't judge people based on today's standards or what they did in the past, unless it's horribly egregious. And her playing that role and then eventually leaving it was not, in my opinion, horribly egregious. So yeah, a little bit of redemption for her to affirm her bi, queer, cisgender, that we know of, child in Chelsea. Bill and Haley, they had sex twice in the episode, but I think that him coming over to Dani and making a scene, even though he's with his wife, shows that there is still some heartache on his end for Dani. It's quite obvious. And if I was Haley, I would be super annoyed that my ex-husband keeps on talking to his ex-wife at the country club, where of course they're going to run into each other because everyone is there. Dani is also dealing with a little bit of heartache of her own. André did not come at her beck and call, and Pamela called it. Like any good friend, your friends know you better than your family. Like my friends know me better than my family. They know whenever there's something up, and Pamela absolutely knew that André and Dani were together. Of course, she played it off and was coy about it and said it's just a friendship. But no, she's feeling some heartache over him because he didn't come whenever she needed him, because he was with Ashley, helping her process Derek potentially moving out. And I'm actually pretty proud of André in this moment. He wasn't being his slick, sly self and trying to move in. He was actually being a good friend to Ashley and reassuring her through her tears that, Derek loves you. He's a good guy, and you should allow him back in, allow him to explain. Now, at the same time, Derek was talking to Naomi, who had just finished with Jacob. He got a call. They weren't able to have dinner together because, their careers are always crazy. But Naomi basically guided Derek on what to say to make Ashley feel heard. And she wrote a message, texted him a message to send to Ashley and says, you know, you need to do this so you can get back in Ashley's good graces. Now, Jacob spent the episode primarily with Leslie and Eva. He wanted to question Eva about the night of the accident. And this is where the familial heartache comes in. Right before that, Eva confronts her mom, Dana, about the accident. And Dana confesses and says, and now you're an accessory because the police don't care when you knew or how you found out. Now you know this, and I'm telling you because I did it out of love. So very manipulative. She said she caused Laura's accident out of love for Eva. And Eva's like, that's not how love works. So then Jacob rolls up as Eva is crying about this. And then Eva says, you know, like she's like, I don't want to talk. Leslie runs out and says, I'm not talking either. But Eva doesn't leave. Jacob talks to her. And then Dana, I'm switching back and forth. Dana Leslie, she slinks around and listens to the conversation. And Eva doesn't rat her out. You know, she has an alibi. She doesn't say her mom calls motorcycles death traps. She sold Alan's motorcycle whenever he died to give them money to even move to Fairmont or the Fairmont Crest area. She really protected her mom. And at the end of that conversation, Dana comes back over and says, you really love your mom. And again, it's that manipulative relationship that is so hard for Eva to deal with. Hope you enjoyed the recap. I was talking more, but a phone call cut me off. Anyway, I'll be back here tomorrow to give you my thoughts and analysis on episode 58 of Beyond the Gates.